The weekend came. Another week slipped away, and we enter into a joyous Saturday. Well, I hope it's joyous for you. My Saturday's only just starting. We shall see whether it ends up joyous or not. Who can tell? I'm going to do my best to make it that way. And I get to the 11th of my online bibliomancies, where I pick a book at random off one of my bookshelves and dip into it and see what a random sentence says to me. And this morning my hand found this, The Physics of Immortality by Frank Tipler. You see, there was a time, must be 15, 20 years ago, where I read a lot about physics and quantum and so on. It's fascinating to me, and also aware that it's very easy to misunderstand. It's simply misunderstanding to say, oh, quantum says that everything is energy, so all you need to do is change your energy and you change the world. That's superficial claptrap. But I wanted to try to understand it a little bit. So I spent a lot of time looking at quantum, a few years where I read a lot of science books. I come from a physics family. My father was a physics teacher. My brother's involved in physics. He's a professor of physics. So I got that. I remember I got that, and it's sort of about, physics, immortality, God. I mean, the catchline on the front is there is a God, there is a heaven, we are all immortal. And I was a bit skeptical about it. And I remember nothing about his thesis except coming out of the book going unconvinced. Sorry, not at all convinced by this. But nonetheless, let's see what it says to me. I randomly flick to find a page. Well, that's actually in the notes. I'm not going to read a footnote. There's a random flick to find a page. The implications of an inevitable heat death for progress and an optimistic worldview are eloquently expressed by the English philosopher Bertrand Russell in a famous passage written in 1903. I'm not going to read Bertrand Russell's passage because that's how long it is, and life is short. I like Bertrand Russell, actually. He's quite an interesting thinker. The implications of an inevitable heat death for progress and an optimistic worldview. Funny, isn't it, when we consider the really big picture, inevitable heat death in the universe. One day the universe will boil or freeze or something, probably freeze as entropy allows all energy slowly to dissipate. And we get a little worried about it. Oh God, what if the sun one day goes extinct? Yeah, 20 billion years from now. Inevitable heat death, what's life worth? Well, we're all going to be dead long before there's a heat death. Frankly, the human race is almost certainly going to be extinct, like every other species becomes extinct, long before there's a heat death, and yet somehow we worry about it. Or if not worry about it, we can become fascinated and in awe. I'm currently reading a book by Mathieu Ricard and someone else whose name I can't remember, called The Quantum and the Lotus, a conversation between a scientist who became a Buddhist and a Buddhist who became a scientist, looking at the links between those things. It's really interesting. These big picture questions, the universe, life, meaning, have always fascinated us. They expand our awareness. We can allow them to become a source of fear, we're all going to die, or of awe, wow, we're all alive, and we have the capacity to imagine what that means. Fear or awe, anxiety or excitement. Opening up the human ability to imagine beyond any kind of human scale. And yet, all we can actually affect is now. how we choose to think, react, act now. We live on the microscopic scale, moment to moment, and yet we can imagine on the vast, most immense scale possible. I remember reading a book called Star Maker by Olaf Stapledon, which sort of imagined the entire universe and then imagined entire other universes, and then imagined entire other multiverses. It's an extraordinary book of imagination, and yet we live in this and only in this moment. Human mind is an extraordinary thing, living between vastness and the minute. Don't think I will go back and read The Physics of Immortality. I remember having quite a negative reaction to it. Perhaps that means I should go back and read it, but I thank it for stimulating some thoughts today. Interestingly, this morning when I woke up, on my iPad, I drew a picture. You can see it on my Facebook or Instagram feed. I drew a picture which was really somebody facing up to vastness, and in that moment hearing a tiny voice from within him. How strange that the picture I drew at 6:30 this morning and the sentence that fell into my eyes at 9:00 this morning somehow talked of the same thing. I think Jung might talk of synchronicity. Have a wonderful day, my friends. Have a wonderful day.